সুপ্রিয় দর্শক সবাইকে স্বাগত জানাচ্ছি টিভিএন24 এর আয়োজিত নিয়মিত অনুষ্ঠান টিভিএন অ্যানালিসিস। আমি হাবিব রহমান আছি আপনাদের সাথে। আশা করি আপনারা সবাই ভালো আছেন, সুস্থ আছেন আমাদের সাথে। আজকের অনুষ্ঠানটি আমি করছি with Michael Mutazadeh. Welcome once again.
Thank you so much.
I think we're going to have some fun because there's tons of information out there. Some confusing, some have changed, so no longer valid. And the summer is here, so new market, people are looking for buying a house. Some are getting up for refinancing. All these things we're going to have in our discussion today. But overall, I'm going to throw those questions one by one and see how you respond to those things. Okay, no more wrong answers. Okay. Okay, so দর্শক আপনারা যারা অনুষ্ঠান দেখছেন, আজকে বেশ কয়েকটি ব্যাপার থাকবে। ট্রাম্প ট্যাক্স কাট, ইটস নট অন দ্য টেবল নাও বিকজ সেনেটে এটি আটকে গেছে। সো এখন পর্যন্ত আপনারা যত শুনেছেন ট্যাক্স কাট, no tax on tips, no tax on social security income, SALT taxes, no limit. এই সমস্ত জিনিস, all these things are gone now because this is not going to pass in the current form, the way the bill is written. And Michael is going to go in detail about this one, so that's going to be one thing. The other is summer is here. আপনারা যারা বাড়ি খুঁজছেন রিয়েল এস্টেট টু বাই এ নিউ হাউস ফর ফার্স্ট টাইম হোম বায়ার, আপনাদের জন্য থাকবে ভালো খবর। দেয়ার আর গুড নিউজ অ্যান্ড ব্যাড নিউজ। গুড নিউজ ইজ দ্য inventory is more than before. So what does that mean? Meaning, do you have more options? The price hasn't gone through the roof as of now. It's kind of like a leveling out, but the mortgage rate stayed. I know you're laughing. There's a lot to hear from you. The mortgage rate is still there. By the way, আপনারা যারা শুনছেন, for the fourth week in a row, 4 consecutive week, the mortgage rate has fell. It fell, right? It fell.
Yeah, but it's basically
slightly, not much, but it is coming. It has come down,
a little bit.
Not significantly, but it has. And then the question is this is a buyer's market? If it is, how should you prepare for all these things? If you're trying to refinance your house, what should you hear from an expert finance person, a certified public accountant? That's going to be another thing. I'm going to ask him to give us some good advice on mortgage refinancing, 30-year fix, if you have less than less. Some people are converting commercial mortgage into a conventional mortgage. We're going to talk about that too. And then generally, I will ask him what's his hunch about the U.S. economy, given the current situation, uncertain situation with many policies internally. That's where part of the bills and all these things, and Trump and his administration's ICE rate and stock market and everything. By the way, we'll talk about the stock markets too. Where is it going, and some indications. So Michael, let's start from the top, right? I know a lot of people don't want to hear this, but I want you to break it down for us. What is happening with Trump's tax cut? And there are many things. Some people are delighted because it will be tax cut for of course the riches and for the people, for everyday people, taxpayer. There were child tax credits, there were SALT, no limits, there were no taxes on tips, there were no taxes on social security income. By the way, social security gave us a bad news, which is by 2034, if the government doesn't do anything significantly, nobody's going to get a full payment. So keep that in mind when you're responding to this question. I know I'm laughing, you're laughing, but these are not sarcasm. It really hurts a lot of people.
I think we all know.
Correct. So let's start there.
Right, Social Security, right, we're seeing that. Basically, we're going to run out of money much sooner than we thought. So what does that mean? My generation, even the younger generations, they're like, oh, well, I'm not going to get Social Security.
Right.
Guess what? This is more bad news for us, right? For the self-employed, it's a little not so bad, right? Because,
correct.
Listen to me, you're not showing as much income as someone who's on a W-2, right? So you're saying, okay, if I don't get it, is it really that bad news? The key is if you're not going to get the Social Security and you're getting all these tax expenses, right? As long as you're taking that money and putting it in something else, you'll do very well for yourselves.
Yeah.
It's the people who said, ooh, I'm not going to do anything, I'm just going to keep my bank.
Wrong choice.
Exactly.
Wrong choice. Yeah. And, that's a good question. It's where do I put that money? I know we're not going to give here financial advices in terms of where to put that money, but putting that money in a savings account is a lose-lose
savings,
situation.
CD, all those guaranteed money, you're not going to make money. You're just literally just going to keep up with inflation.
And
at best.
On top of that, they're going to take out the service charges and all those things.
Aside from that, also you're going to pay taxes on that.
You're going to pay taxes on this. Okay, so let's go back into tax cuts. Where is it? What happened? Why?
So look, it's real simple, and it's just like you spoke about. Look, this bill, this beautiful bill that's been mentioned, look,
not only
right now, it's in the Senate. It is morphing in every single which way. I know a lot of CPAs come on TBN saying this, and that, but look, it's going, right now, we don't know where it's going to go. It's going to change in 6 different ways.
Right, maybe more.
You heard about the SALT deduction. What's the SALT deduction, right? SALT is, hey, right now it's capped at $10,000. That could be property taxes, that could be your state taxes, all that stuff. It's easy to get $10,000. Why? Most of our property taxes in New York is over $10,000 anyways, so it doesn't affect us. Right now we're losing out. The rest of the country is doing better, and that's why they're happy to keep it the way it is, right? As they raise the SALT deduction, right, then it's going to be more of a deficit.
Correct.
Right, because it's got to come from somewhere. So you heard it went down all the way down up to unlimited to 40. Right now, we just don't know where it's going to go, and it's going to be based on the senators. And the senators that are going to push back the most are the ones that don't. It doesn't affect them, right? So if your property taxes are $3,000, those senators don't care, because they're doing well as it is, right? They want other things. There's so many people that want other things in this bill. This is why it's just going in a full circle and nothing's happening. Yeah.
So there are quite a few things that people are unhappy about. There is the two polar opposite, right? One side is saying it's too much cut for Medicare, Medicaid, and all these things.
That's another problem, because that's morphing as well.
Right. So it's going to affect everyday
work
people.
Requirements, not work requirements.
Right.
Look, it's not like this has never happened before. There used to be work requirements. This is not new.
Yeah, it's nothing new. That is true.
And I think there's a state that actually has always input work requirements.
Yeah.
And it's done nothing.
And the reason, and I'm not taking sides here, the reason the work requirement is it was getting abused.
Yes, it's getting abused, but the real reason I've seen for the work requirement is it's because when you make the other person work, then you made too much money. Now you don't even get Medicaid at all.
Correct.
So it's actually could be really hurtful, but do I really think anything's going to happen of it? No, I think we're going to end up being exactly where we were this year.
Yeah, so we'll see how that works out.
That's not something I'd freak out about.
Yeah, so right now, there's no reason to freak out. There's no reason to wait on this one. And there's no reason to get your hope.
There's really nothing you can do at the end of the day. This is not up to you and I. This is not up to anybody else but the senators.
This is the big guys.
That's right.
Yeah.
The people you guys put in office.
In the Senate. Yeah.
Right.
That you voted for the Senate.
Exactly.
Right, or the House. So don't get your hopes really high of what you heard so far.
It's going to take more time to figure out where things are.
Right.
As that gets updated, we're going to update you as well.
Okay. I'm going to come back to summaries here, almost finally.
Okay, great.
Late, really late, but it is here. At least I felt it today. Now, when summer comes, people start looking at houses.
Correct.
Especially if you're a first-time buyer, you're looking for a deal, you're looking for your first house, you're going to move in with your family. So overall, give me a perspective of your perspective of what's happening. What is going to happen in this summer, especially? We have been having this tight market.
We have been having a tight market, but what everyone's been hearing on the news, that's not New York, right? That is the rest of the states, right? That all the prices went through the roof, right? Like Texas, all these places, right? That's not what's happening in New York specifically. And when I say New York, I mean like Queens, Brooklyn, Bronx.
Right. Meaning the price changes that you are seeing, that, the price is dropping.
Right. Look, if you look at the last 3 months, right? Is inventory higher than it's ever been in the last 3 months? Yes, it has been. But is it astronomical? No.
And also,
it's maybe 10% more than what it was in the last 3 months.
Also, is it in New York City? No. The chances are, the numbers are slightly higher.
They're slightly higher in Queens,
right.
Brooklyn. It is slightly higher.
Compared to the rest of the country.
No. There are just as much buyers as there are sellers in the market.
Right.
I mean, we closed, like 6-7 deals in the last 2 months, but that's, again, It's the same thing. Things are not.
That's a norm.
That's norm. It's not slowing down.
So nothing drastic.
No, and if you look at the price changes, you're talking about like 2% difference.
Right. So the prospective buyers, your advice for them?
Look, this is, again, if you guys are looking for a home, right? This is the time. This is when people are switching schools. This is when people say, okay, I'm going to go find a house. I'm going to close in the house. My child's going to go to this new school district.
Yeah,
right?
in September.
This is what housing season's all about. What's the bad news? You have a lot more competition. Right, so really the summer months, you really shouldn't like look at too hard like where the market's going, because it's always twisted.
Okay, so again, keep an eye on a property that if you like something.
Correct. Is this the time where you can say, okay, you can't go and say, okay, I'm going to bid 100,000 less. No, but do I think it's going to go way above market? No, those days are behind us at least.
Right. So the astronomical pricing going through the roof is not there now, which is a good thing.
It's a good thing, because right now, look, what's going on, going back to your next question, was going to be the mortgage rates. Everything's staying like this,
okay,
right?
I'm going to come back to mortgage rate because I think I need to hear a little bit detail on this one. Since we're talking about prospective buyers, and since we're talking about, this summertime and, people are going to buy, what are those things that you would like to share for those prospective buyers in terms of paperwork? That could be tax papers, that could be, having good credit rates, consistent banking info, and all these things, having a good accountant, having a good real estate. So let's start with the good paperwork.
So look, the paperwork's always the most important part of getting a mortgage. We all know that, right? But the thing is, now you're buying in the summer. So this whole entire tax season, hopefully either you're on extension or you've met with a good CPA and a good mortgage person that's going to say, okay, you are on the right track. What I hate seeing is people come all the time to our office, new clients, and they say, oh, can I buy a house? Well, we should have known about this in January and February. Right? So now, whatever is going on in that person's financial position, it's kind of hard to maneuver. Right?
Yeah, because you're in a tight spot.
I'm in a tight spot. I'm like, okay, you already filed your taxes. Like, what am I supposed to do here? But if I knew in January that you guys were looking for a house, right, then I can make those moves. I can put you in a much better position.
Why is amendment is not a good thing? You explained
so they don't like it. Look.
Who's they?
Fannie, Freddie.
Oh, the mortgage companies.
They don't
the
like
lenders.
to see it. They say, okay, if you're adding income, right, sometimes they're okay with it, right, but you can't be removing expenses.
Yeah, okay. So that's not an answer.
That's why when you guys decide, hey, I want to buy a house, the time to think about is January, February, and put your tax file on extension.
Okay, so I think I'm going to clarify a few things here. So what he is saying basically, যেটা উনি বলছেন যে আপনার যদি বাড়ি কেনার ইচ্ছা থাকে আপনি মার্চে এসে বলতে পারেন না বা in April or May, oh, I'm looking for a house. By that time আপনি already tax file করে ফেলেছেন। আপনি কি amend করতে পারেন? Yes, but mortgage lenders তারা এটি পছন্দ করে না. They don't like it. The idea should be very clear. Buying a house is not buying a shoe, right? So আপনার planning থাকতে হবে. You have to have a plan. That means আপনি যখন জানুয়ারিতে tax file করবেন, you must have in your head that I am buying a property this year. My tax file should be really according to that situation, correct?
That's correct, because you also don't want to be giving the IRS more money than they have to be if you find a cheaper house.
Yeah.
So that's why the extension is always the best.
Okay. How can a good CPA help?
So just like I said, like when our clients, like they go, every time we're doing taxes, right, I speak to them, hey, I'm thinking I'm going to buy a house. I say, listen, we're going to stop. We're going to throw this on extension. We're going to wait till you find something you like. They work with our office, find the house, and we make it the way it should be. There's no reason to give more money, but you also don't want to give too little where you can't get the house again, right? So look, it's not just the house price, right? You're not talking about like, okay, it's $700,000. If you're buying in Long Island, it's different, right? If you're buying in Queens, the property taxes are much lower, right? All this little stuff matters.
Okay, now, people randomly pick a real estate agent. Sometimes they pick, they said, I don't need one, the seller has one, so let's just use him. Why this is not a good thing, number one. Number two, why it is so important to have a good dedicated real estate agent working for you and for your own benefit.
So this is actually a pretty easy one. I know we touched on months ago probably. Yeah. But look, now that the laws have changed and everything, getting a buyer's agent is the most important thing you could do, right? Why? If the person is the seller's agent, their loyalty is to the seller to get the highest price. The buyer's agent is to get the lowest price and to make sure they can negotiate the best deal for you.
Yeah.
Right? If someone doesn't have your best interests, you shouldn't be using them. Okay? They're not going to get you a better deal. They're just not. Because why? The seller's only paying them a portion of it anyways. So they have the best thing they can do. They don't care. They just want to get a house sold at the highest price, which increases their commission at the highest.
Even more.
That's correct.
If not,
remember, it's based on price, right?
Yeah, based on price. So seller, broker will always look for the seller to get a better price.
Correct.
So that therefore he gets a better price, a better cut.
Correct. So look, with our office, when we're the buyer's agent, right? Yeah. Our goal is to have our client's best interests at heart, right?
Right.
So that's why a lot of them work with us, because we care about you.
Right.
We don't care about the seller. We don't care about the seller's agent. We want to get you the best deal possible.
Okay. Now, I know you have some stats.
Sure.
All right, so let's go into that. Housing price seems to come down a little bit, as you just alluded a few minutes ago.
It's going to be like, I think it's going to be more like flat, like what's going on in the last couple months.
Correct. A lot of people say it's flattening out.
It's just flattening out, right?
So
inventory-wise, are we up a little bit? Sure, we're up a little bit.
Well, okay, so give us some perspective.
So look, I'll give you just
for the context.
Just for like Queens, right?
Right.
So I'm just looking at Queens in May, right? So right now we already have almost 1,160 homes that are actually still in the market. That's inventory, right? Okay. But if we look at the month prior, right, it's about 10% less.
Less than
the month
prior?
Right.
Really?
Yes.
So it went down?
It went, but it's not a lot, because why? What's the problem? The price went up.
The price went up.
So we're in this weird situation right now. We can't make this decision today. Another month or so, once the data really comes out, especially for the summer, where we're talking about the housing market, then we'll be able to say, okay, inventory's down even in Queens.
Yeah.
But right now, I don't want to even say that.
Right. So in some places, you may hear that, oh, the prices are coming down. True, but prices in your area probably going up.
Look, the best way to look at this, the housing markets that went up the fastest are having that huge surplus of inventory right now.
They do?
They do.
Okay.
Those are the ones that just went up so crazy that it was insane.
Okay.
Right? Those are insane markets. Right? New York wasn't an insane market.
Never was.
We had just many buyers and sellers, right?
Yeah.
Literally, right now, what I see is everything flattening up, right? Mortgage rates are not coming down, right? Right now, that's really what I think is going to dictate the next move for this market.
Okay, so let's talk about mortgage rate.
All right.
The mortgage rate remained high, even though I said in the beginning that it is the fourth week that it came down, but it hasn't come down so much so that it puts a dent. It has. So explain that to me, and then when will the mortgage come down even more? Do you think that's going to happen?
Look, I don't think the mortgage rate's going to go up. Let me put it that way. It's not going to go up. So look, if you're looking for a house, then you should go buy something because you know, hey, this is the worst case scenario. This is the worst mortgage rate I'm going to get, right? And look, we're looking in July. They're putting a lot of pressure on them to cut in July. So if you go look for a house today, you know you're not going to close till the end of July, even possibly August. So you may be able to take advantage of that. So the seller thinks, hey, market's like 7%, but imagine you take it at 6.5.
Right.
Right? Then you get a good deal because why? Your house is worth more.
So what you're saying to me is this: the house price always goes up.
The house price always goes up, right? It always goes up, but it's also dictated, hey, why is the price not going up further? Because rates right now are here.
Moderate.
Correct.
Not extremely high.
But if you find something you love, you know it's a good deal, don't hesitate because the mortgage rate's 6.5 or 6.6 today.
It's 6.81 today.
Right?
Yeah.
That's the worst case. Take advantage of it.
Right. Don't time the market.
You can't time the market.
What happens when you time the market? Try to time the market.
You can't time the market because if you could time the market, everyone would.
Example of what happened to somebody who tried to time the market.
A lot of people try to time the market. It's not that. It's a very easy way to say it. If you could time the market, they'd be calling you for advice.
Yes, that is so correct. There's no way. I know you said that in one of the previous shows. If you're ready, go buy the house.
Exactly.
If you're ready means financially you can support for 3 months, you have the down payments, you think this is the house you want, go for it.
Look, you can never retrade a house, but you could always lower the mortgage payments.
Yeah. That's the key. You
Correct.
can always lower your mortgage
Yes,
payments.
and the other problem is we've been so accustomed to these low rates all these years. It's like 7% sounds horrific.
Yeah.
But before the crash, this was normal.
Okay, so I'm going to come back to you because I need more clarification on this one. I was going to ask you, so this is a buyer's market? That your answer negates that, meaning your answer is...
If you're not in New York, yeah, sure, it could possibly be.
Yeah, so if you're not living in New York, it's a buyer's market.
Correct.
Because we are seeing that.
Now in New York, it's not a buyer's market, it's not a seller's market.
So there is a level playing ground.
Yeah, exactly. It's leveled out. It's not giving one side the edge versus the other.
Correct. Let's talk about the sellers. We're talking about buyers. What's your advice for the sellers in this current scenario?
Look, right now the price has been high as can be, right? If you guys are looking to sell, the time is now, but you got to work for the good real estate that has your interests, not just getting a house and getting it sold and saying, oh, well, they offered me $50,000 less. No, you want to get the best for you. Right? So that's, as I said, the difference between buyer's agent and seller's agent, right? Seller's agent should be working for you to get you guys the best and highest price. The buyer's agent, right, is to get the lowest. So you have to work with a good seller's agent, and I'm recommending the buyer's same way, work for a good buyer's agent. This is how all the other states work.
Correct. All right, so for seller, just see if you can maximize your benefit.
You want, of course.
Right? That's the whole game.
But I've also seen stuff that's so crazy where it's like, okay, they tell you, oh, I'm going to get you this insane price, some seller's agent, and then they say, oh, well, you're going to have to settle with this. That's not the right person for you.
Once you find out you are in that scenario, what would be your action?
It's hard because what I suggest everybody do.
Because they sign a deal.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
That's the problem. So my suggestion is this. If you're going to sell your house, meet with 3 people. The person who gives you the highest price, do not use that person because why the other 2 give you the lower one?
Yeah.
Right? Meet with somebody you trust and you feel comfortable with, okay, that has your best interests.
Yeah.
It's not just price all the time. Sometimes it could be, hey, listen, this person has a cash offer, right? This person has not great financing, right? You need someone that actually understands the mortgages, can look at somebody's financial position and say, hey, listen, this is a strong buyer. We are going to close. Right? Some of them don't care. Right. The seller's agents don't care, and they're all over the place. But there's some really good ones, too, to say, hey, listen, I want to know this, this, and this.
Correct.
The more questions you get asked, the better off that person is.
What are the questions a seller can ask when he or she's thinking that 2 things can happen. You suspect you have a bad salesperson. Right?
But you don't know. People come in and say, okay, one person says, oh, I can get you $700,000. The person says, I can give you $800,000. The seller goes,
so what would be the got you kind of thing that, oh, you know what?
When one of them is so above the other one, you know either the person knows they're going to come down after a couple of months and they're going to force your hand on that. You don't want to be in that problem. Why? Because then your house has become stale.
Explain that. Because
so say you went with the other agent that's offered you the biggest one, right? Said, oh, I can get $800,000, right? So now it took 30 days. You realize you can't, and you should have listened to the other ones, right? So now you got to come down. Now your house is on the market for 30 days additional.
Yeah, it shows.
Right. So look, and then you have a prospective buyer says, wait, something's wrong with this house.
Yeah. Why in this tight market, it's sitting there?
Correct.
Okay.
Right, and then look, there's also sellers who, hey, listen, their mortgage is like this much. Then you have to go for the, it really, everybody's has a different situation, right?
Right.
Say I want to buy this house, but I have to get, say, $800,000 for that house to do it. That's a different story.
Okay. Now, you have brought me to the mortgage refinancing thing.
Okay.
So I'm going to put this in 2 different categories. One, the conventional refinancing. Why should you do refinancing when you have the first chance? What does it do for you for your own benefit? And how to maximize your first chance of refinancing? 3 questions.
All right, let's start with the refinance in general. Let's just talk in general. The paperwork we just spoke about as a prospective buyer is the same for a prospective person who refinances.
Okay.
Why? Because they're still going to look at the same income, make sure you qualify. So if your tax stuff is not in good order, you're going to strike out.
Okay.
So it's really important. It's the same thing. It's exactly the same. Work with someone who knows their house. Exactly. The difference is with a refinance, you don't have to have that available down payment. Yeah. Right? Because you already used it, right? And with the refinance, you don't come out of pocket again in cash. The closing costs get added to the loan, right? So if my loan is $200,000, and it's $20,000 in closing costs,
Right.
for example, my new loan is $220,000, but I get a lower rate, so my payment will be reduced.
That's number one goal.
Correct.
Now, this is a conventional loan. I'm going to put
Well, FHA loan, look, you got conventional, right? We got conventional, we have FHA, then we have the
business.
The business to personal.
Personal. So let's talk about, I'm still staying at the conventional one,
Okay.
right? So in the conventional one, we know a lot of people, for many reasons, either they have bad realtor, they had not so shabby CPA, and they were too eager to get their own property, even though the prices were sky high, right? Combination of all these things, let's make believe you bought a house and your mortgage rate is 10%. I'm just putting a number out there, right? Now you have a chance, you are in a situation, you can refinance your house. Let's say 10% you are paying, let's say $6,000. I'm just putting numbers out there, $6,000 mortgage rate, which is a lot.
Correct.
Now you can refinance this house and then you can actually bring it down to $4,000, which is a savings of $2,000. I'm just
That's correct.
rounding up the numbers, right?
But I would never suggest to jump on it.
Okay,
Because that's
so-
what's everybody wants. Everyone comes to my office and says, hey, should I refinance? Answer is no. Why? Because it's not going to go up from here. It's going to go down. And you don't want to keep refinancing, right?
How many times can I refinance? As many times
as you want.
Okay, so that's for the first time I'm hearing this.
There's
I
no
thought
limit.
like once or twice you could do it.
No, there's no limit.
So that means you can do it as many times
as you want.
Okay, so people who are your you can refinance your house as many times as you want. Given the situation is
Look, you may be refinancing the first 2 or 3 times for the rate drops, right? But then, hey, my kid's going to college. I need money.
Yeah.
Or I want to put an addition on the home.
Right.
I refinance again to take cash out.
Right. Okay.
Right? So everyone has a different situation, like we always talk about.
Right.
But with a refinance, you can either change your rate and term, right? Or you can take cash out. Or you can do both simultaneously.
All right. So first of all, you just said don't rush. Just like you did.
There is no
when you were
need
purchasing the house.
Correct.
Don't do that.
Correct.
How do you actually rationalize and logically take those steps that you don't have to jump into the fire?
Look, we know the rates are not going any further up, right? This is pretty much, this is it, right?
Yeah.
So we know it's only going to go down from here, right? The question is, you better have your paperwork ready because you never know when that downturn is.
Okay.
So you have to prepare every single year like you're going to refinance until you do.
Difference between conventional and FHA refinancing.
Well, look, it's all about cost. Like there is something called FHA Streamline, which is quick. But look, if you can get out of an FHA loan, do it. Why? Because conventional doesn't, when you're refinancing a conventional loan, most likely you won't have PMI anymore, right?
Yeah, that's $300.
But you can't get away from that for the FHA.
For the duration of the loan.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's $300.
Look, trust me, if you can get a conventional loan, do it, okay? If you have tons of debt and you have to have a higher debt-to-income ratio, sometimes you don't have a choice.
Right. Sometimes you don't have a choice.
You don't have a choice.
So
or your credit's not good, or stuff like that. Conventional is for a stronger buyer, bottom line.
Yeah. If you are good on paper, good credit line, good solid income.
Yeah, conventional all the way.
Yeah, so you're good to go.
Correct.
If not,
so you got a 620 credit score. I got a lot of credit card debt. I got a student loan, or I have a car loan.
Yeah.
Look, they're going to have to look the FHA route.
Yeah, I mean, which is also doable. You're going to swallow that pill.
It's not going to be exactly.
And then time comes,
and you have to refinance again.
And that's the point I was trying to get to. So it is, don't. So what are you basically saying? That just because you think that you are in a bad, deal, it's not for the rest of your life.
That's correct.
That's okay. So
remember, I used to say you can't retrade what you bought the house for, but you can lower that mortgage payment.
Anytime.
Anytime.
So long you are ready.
That's right. So always prepare. Every year, prepare like I'm going to refinance.
And the way you plan it, you watch my show and you go to him.
Sounds good to me, guys.
No, this is.
But look. You got to talk to people that know what they're doing. That's bottom line.
That's always true. If you go to somebody who's really not so expert in the field.
Yeah, like I saw it, like, what was it, a year ago, where someone says, oh yeah, my CPA made me file all these big taxes 2 years in a row. Well, guess what? When we did their house, we only needed 1 year tax file. So they spent all this money in taxes the 2 years prior.
24, what we hear that you have to have 24
It's not
months.
true. If you're self-employed, you've been working for 5 years, you need 1 year tax file.
Okay, so I'm sure আপনারা অনেকে এটা জানেন এবং যারা জানেন না তারা এখন জেনে নেন যদি আপনি self-employed you need 12 months of income.
Yeah, but even if you're W-2, it doesn't matter about the previous 2 years, right? It's in place. Like, what's my salary today?
Yeah.
So again, as we keep saying, right? Talk to the right people.
All right. So I think what's going to happen in coming days, we need to have some good, solid example, so that it's like easy for everyone to understand.
Correct. But the problem also we're going to have is everybody's situation is different.
Yeah. So we'll take one or two examples and
correct. I think that's probably the best way we could do it.
That's we can't fit everybody in there, but we can fit at least 2 or 3 conventional.
Yeah, of course. We should. Yeah, of course.
Right? All right. Everybody's saying the economy is on the brink of collapse. And that goes with everything hand to hand, with the business, with the mortgage rate, with the housing market and everything. Is it?
I think if we don't let up with these tariffs, with this nonsense going on, yeah, I think we're going to hit a recession.
Okay, so
what I truly think is going to happen, we're going to go real close to a recession, and probably everybody's going to back off.
Some people are going to come.
It's going to back off, but the problem comes down to is I'd rather them back off today, because when we get too close, you guys are going to see a lot of people getting either unemployed and stuff like that. You don't want to see that.
That's when you back off.
Yeah, but the problem is the damage is already done.
Yeah, there's another way you can back off.
Go ahead.
You buy one of those T1 Trump mobile and call it directly.
There you go. I saw your collection. I'm kidding.
What an idea. Anyway, I was looking at it. You can buy the same phone. It's actually a Vivo Revo. You can buy it on Amazon for $169. Can you believe this?
It's great. The whole thing's crazy.
Forget it. Anyway, let's focus on the stock market. Most of the companies already announced their earnings. Few weeks, 2 weeks at the most. Some people are questioning: is it a buying season? Is it a selling season? Is the stock market is surging again? We all know that July first week is all those tariffs that are in pause are going to go in effect. Give us your perspective, please.
So, look, if you look at the year to date, just to look at the market itself, it's basically flattened for January 1st to today, right?
Yeah.
It's not really moving, right? But look, right now, people are putting money in the market because they assume, hey, this is going to happen, right?
Yeah.
If it happens, the market's going to look like this.
Right.
If they're wrong, and it goes down, or we don't get a rate cut, or those tariffs are more powerful than we thought, we got a problem.
Serious problem.
Correct.
Right. So people who are in the stock market right now, most of them already filed the taxes and all these things. So there are a few questions they ask is, even though we are not financial advisor, what would be your perspective when somebody's looking at Tesla, for an example? Would you recommend that, or say stay away?
It's not to recommend individual stocks, right?
Risky.
It's not even that. It's like, how do this is not our profession. That's not their profession.
That's true.
Why would they be no better than anybody else?
Correct.
Right? Those are volatile stocks, right?
Very volatile.
Right? They don't. That's the problem. And the volatile stocks are going to move up and down with news, right?
Yeah, right.
So it's really hard with that, especially individual stocks, because what they call alpha, that profit you're going to get, is not going to happen.
Right.
So, look, everyone who's not professional finance person in the stock market, look, I always say, listen, you could always buy the market, which is just an index fund or something like that. If you believe the U.S. economy is going to go this way, that's where you're going to go.
Or just buy NASDAQ.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
that's index. Exactly.
Just buy it. Don't pick a individual thing and then
because that is where the most risk is. That individual stock has the most risk.
Yeah, the highest.
When you diversify and buy everything in the market, the ones that do well and the ones that do bad, they even themselves out.
Right. But if the entire market goes down, eventually it'll come back up.
Correct, but those individual stocks will get killed.
Yeah. I'm not talking about the individual one. Individual is risky, very risky, unless you have done your own research and know the trend.
If you work for a hedge fund and you do stuff like that, that's different. I'm not going to tell you guys how to do it.
Very, very risky.
Agreed.
Now, we are towards the end of our session today. Your advice on people who still haven't done the taxes yet, right? Individual level and business level. Let's start with that first.
All right, so everyone who's on extension, right? Either they're looking to buy a house from my office, or or they just don't have their stuff together, look, the ones that I would just wait as long as you can, especially ones looking to buy a house, because you have till either October or September, depending on what kind of business you have. But literally wait till you get there. Do not just rush and say, I'm going to file my taxes. It's not going to provide you anything special, right?
Yeah.
The ones that, hey, listen, I'm not buying a house. I just want to get it over with. This is time, it's a slower season, right? So you meet with your CPA and get it over with. But it's really, you never know. You need to figure out what's going to happen in the next, say, 4 months in your life. Are you buying a house? Or are you doing something that you need a big tax file for? Are you getting a loan for the business? You guys have to figure that out before rushing and filing.
Correct. Business individuals, business people who are still haven't filed. I know why you're laughing, but should they take extension? I know
it's too late.
It's too late. What should they do?
So look, the good news is, hey, listen, if you didn't file, you didn't take an extension, right? Do your taxes, wait for the nice fat bill to come in, then we can always ask for an abatement. What's an abatement? A reduction of that penalty, right? Either totally off. You can usually do it once every 3 years.
Every 3 years. Mm-hmm. So you haven't done so.
If you've been good and this is your first time doing it, there's an opportunity there that, hey, listen, this time it's not going to hurt you. The next year, if you do it again, it's a different scenario.
Right. People who are prospective buyers could be on W-2, could be on 1099. Mm-hmm. What would be your advice for them?
Look, the W-2s, listen, stay your job, don't move around different jobs, different industries, don't make your life harder than it has to be, right? Unless you get a big promotion, you're going to get a lot more money.
Correct.
The 1099s, look, it is what it is, right? If you filed your taxes, well, that's it. If you didn't file your taxes, you're on extension, right? You guys have the opportunity to take advantage of that.
Michael, it was nice talking to you again and seeing back you in the studio. I hope to do our next one next month. And this is when I think we're going to have a little bit more clarity in terms of where the taxes are, how the tariff is,
That's going to be the number one thing. You guys have to watch those tariffs because what's it going to do? If we start seeing other stuff going on, it can affect the housing market.
Right. So, আপনারা যারা দেখছেন, আগামী মাস is very important for us next month. How the tariff is going to impact because the pause expired যাচ্ছে first week of July. 80 effect পড়বে huge in every market, with every realm of your life, from real estate to stock market to individual small pops and moms business and the malls and everywhere. So we need to keep an eye on that one. Amra asha korchi next month we're going to do program and then we'll also know where the bill is, the big beautiful bill.
That's right.
Because right now it's stuck in the Senate.
Correct.
So these two things are intertwined in a
Exactly. I think this is all going to be totally that's what I'm saying. If you guys have time, just wait a little bit. Let's see where this thing goes.
So don't make what Michael is saying. Don't make big move at this time. It's a risky thing to do right now because the biggest question and the biggest thing in our head right now, it's uncertainty. Ọনিশ্চয়তা. And this is when you don't take risky moves. So with that, we're going to end our program. যে যেখানে থাকবেন ভালো থাকবেন সুস্থ থাকবেন দেখা হবে পরবর্তী প্রোগ্রামে শুভরাত্রি
TBN 24 টেলিভিশন দেখতে আজই কল করুন 7187776556 লগ ইন করুন www.totalcablebd.com
নিউ ইয়র্ক থেকে সম্প্রচারিত TBN 24 টেলিভিশন বিশ্বজুড়ে বাঙালির কণ্ঠস্বর।